Do you want to move to Portugal, or maybe you've even started the process and even gotten your visa and you want to know what's next? Then stay tuned to this video because I'll be walking through all of the documents I brought in my first trip to SEF for the temporary residence permit and all the experiences I had on that visit. Let's get to it. Hi, and welcome to this community of Portugal lovers. My name is Julia, and I am American. I've been living in Portugal since 2019, so yes, it has been a while since I've gotten my temporary residence permit, but it is not an experience easily forgotten because it was such a special moment in my life and my start to my journey here in Portugal. If you have no idea what the temporary residence permit is, I did make a video just on the basics of what this is and how you can apply for it. I'll leave a link up here and also in the description below so you can check that video out. Otherwise, let's get started with getting the actual appointment. I had already applied for the D7 visa while I was living in the United States. So after being approved for that visa and getting to Portugal, I needed to set up an appointment with SEF. I understand now that you can sometimes get your appointment when you're approved for the visa and access that online with SEF, but at the time that I applied, that wasn't possible. I could only get an appointment by phone. So I tried calling them several times and eventually I got through to them. At the time I was living in Lisbon, but I requested an appointment at the Leiria office because I heard that there was a shorter wait time, and I did find that to be true because I was able to make an appointment for about 6 weeks out. And then the day of the appointment came and I rode up to the Leiria office with my boyfriend and his family, and it never hurts to have a native Portuguese speaker with you just in case, but we didn't bring any professional lawyers or agents with us. My appointment was scheduled for 10:30 in the morning, but I had heard that at other offices that appointment time is just to allow you to come and get a ticket and wait in line. However, there wasn't anywhere at the Leiria office to get a ticket and get in line. They just went in the order of the appointment times. But I still think it's good to come early just in case that you do need to get a ticket and they call it out by number instead of appointment time. And basically, because of that, and because even though my appointment was at 10:30 and I didn't get seen till closer to noon, I would say that going to your temporary residence permit might be a whole day endeavor, so don't plan on being able to go to something in the afternoon if you're supposed to have a morning appointment with SEF, because it can take a long time, and I don't know, this is just one office. Who knows how slow or fast it is at other offices. So once they called my name, I went back to where the agent was and I asked her if she spoke English. And she said no. But as I said, luckily I had somebody to speak Portuguese with me, although I don't think that it was really all that necessary because I didn't do a lot of chatting with the agent at all. The agent was nice enough, but she wasn't interested in any kind of small talk. She just wanted to see my documents. So I handed her all the documents that I had seen that were required on the SEF website. For the actual permit application, I had brought an outdated version of the form, but luckily the agent gave me the correct version and I just completed and signed that at the appointment. Most of the questions are pretty straightforward, like your name, your birthday, things like that. But there is this one section where I'll leave here where it can be a little tricky. Most likely you're going to want to check the first box, and then if you're following the general regime for the temporary residence permit, you'll write 77 in the blank, which is what I did. I was a little confused about what to put there, but the agent was able to tell me what to do. So I also gave the agent my passport with the visa inside. I gave her my NEF documentation and then proof of my financial means, accommodations, and health insurance. For the most part, the documents that I gave her were duplicates from my visa application. For my proof of financial means, I brought updated bank statements from my Portuguese and American bank accounts. And at the time I was working as a freelancer, so I also brought a letter with the company I was freelancing with stating that I had worked with them and how much money I had made with them to date, as well as pay stubs to match those amounts. As I mentioned, I already had a Portuguese bank account in NEF before moving to Portugal, which is now a requirement for the visa, so you should already have these things. And I was able to obtain these without any professional help, and it's definitely possible to do so. However, if you are having a hard time with it, or you just don't have the time to do it or whatever, and you want to hire professional service, those definitely exist. And if you are interested in a professional service to help with the bank account and NEEF, I would recommend Border, which I actually have a discount code for in the description below. With my proof of accommodations, I actually did have a little trouble because I wasn't actually renting a property and I hadn't purchased a property. I was just moving in with a friend who already had a residence. And so I had used a term of responsibility for the visa application, and I brought similar documentation to my permit appointment. However, what the agent was interested in seeing was a note from my parish office or Junta de Freguesia stating that I was living in that parish and had my name and address on it. Fortunately, I had this document, and I also had several different bills with my name and address on it, so that was enough to proceed with proof of accommodations for my application. So that's an example why I would highly recommend bringing extra documents if you think they're at all relevant, and I would recommend keeping them to the side so that you don't get them mixed up with all the things you know the agent's going to want to see, so that you can hand the documents you know they'll need, which is what I did, and then have an extra stack of things that you may or may not need just in case. For the health insurance component, I had already purchased private health insurance through Fidelidad, so I presented a document summarizing my plan and proof that I had paid for that plan up to date. If you want to know more about my experience with my health insurance or buying health insurance, please let me know in the comments below. I also had gone to my local health center and started the process for applying for a health number. I was told at the health center that I couldn't actually get the full process completed until after I gained residency, but I did have a document that I could show showing that I had started the process. I had brought my personal statement that I had from my visa application, but the agent didn't ask for that. In theory, I think I should have had to show my social security number because I was intending to work in the sense that I was freelancing and I was intending to make an income from that, but the agent didn't ask for that documentation. So as I said, I handed all the documents to the agent that I thought she would need. She took a quick glance through them, gave me back the documents that she didn't need, and scanned the rest of the documents for records. Then they had me go to a machine where I signed and they took my picture, and I thought, well, that's a good sign because I think that this means they're processing my permit, but they didn't really say anything. The agent barely said anything to me at all, really. She just stared at my papers and the computer screen, typed some things, scanned some things. So I felt unsure about what was actually happening. And then my photo and my signature were printed on a piece of paper, which ended up basically being my temporary version of my temporary residence permit. So basically proof that I would end up receiving my temporary residence permit card. And then I paid the permit processing fee, which was 163 euros and 70 cents. I was able to pay this fee by cash or card. I did bring cash with me just in case because I was worried about getting to that step and for whatever reason not being able to pay by card. But in my experience, you can pay with card. So if you can, I would bring both options just to be super safe, but you should be able to pay by card. And then the agent handed me my receipt and the proof of the permit processing completion and all of the originals to my documents, and that was that. I don't know what I was really expecting. I certainly knew that it wasn't a big moment in their lives and they weren't going to make a big deal about it, but I thought somebody might explicitly say, "You've been approved for the temporary residence permit," rather than just handing me a receipt. It was a little anticlimactic because she never said, like, "You're approved." She actually barely spoke to me, so I was pretty confused and just thought, okay, be confident. They would have said if something was wrong and they didn't, so you're all good to go. You have the receipt, you have the confirmation, so you definitely got your temporary residence permit. And then I just waited for my card to show up in the mail. And sure enough, it did. I received my D7 visa in the mail on May 6, 2019, and my visa start date was May 9th, 2019. So luckily I timed that out super well, and I arrived in Portugal about 10 days later on May 19th, 2019. 2 days after landing in Portugal, I was able to get a hold of SEF and make my appointment for the temporary residence permit. And my appointment was scheduled for July 3rd, 2019. After being approved for the residence permit at my appointment, I received my temporary residence permit card in the mail on July 17th, 2019. And the permit start date was July 3rd, 2019, so the date I had my appointment. I also want to mention that my address and my NIF were printed on the card, and the address that they used was the one that I had at my appointment. So in thinking about your proof of accommodations, whatever address that you bring to your permit appointment is the one that they'll print on your card. And you do need to, just FYI, you do need to notify SEF whenever you change your address, so just keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind that the address that they have on file is the one where they're going to be sending the card, so just make sure that you're available at that address to receive the card. And for me, it was about 2 weeks, but I'm not sure if this is standard or not. Just make sure that you have an address with them that is trusty. So everything looked good on the card, and I was feeling pretty official, and I was just so happy to finally make it to that point after going through all the research of how to move to Portugal, doing the visa application, moving my stuff to Portugal, and getting rid of stuff on the way, and then going through the temporary residence process to get the permit, and I was finally there, approved to live in Portugal, and it was so exciting. And I hope that you can make it to that moment too, if that's what you're trying to do in moving to Portugal. And I wish you the best of luck. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below, and see you soon. Bye-bye.